The frigid waters of the Pecos River churned violently as Catherine Faulkner frantically thrashed against the current, her arms wrapped around her two young children. It was 1875, and what had begun as a desperate attempt to ford the swollen river after spring rains had turned into a battle for survival. Her wagon lay capsized upstream, her husband's body already swept away by the merciless waters. As her strength waned and the icy grip of the river pulled at her sodden skirts, Catherine felt her consciousness slipping. Her last coherent thought was of her children, little Emma, 6, and Thomas, just 4, as darkness claimed her. Nathan Parker hadn't planned to ride near the Pecos that afternoon. The 30-year-old cowboy was simply taking a shortcut back to the Bar 7 ranch after delivering cattle to Fort Stockton. The spring sunshine warmed his back as his horse picked its way along the riverbank. Then he heard a child's terrified scream cutting through the rushing water. Without hesitation, Nathan spurred his horse toward the sound, his heart hammering in his chest. What he saw froze his blood. A woman and 2 children were being swept downstream, the woman appearing unconscious while the children clung to her. Nathan didn't think, he acted. Kicking free of his stirrups, he plunged into the icy river, powerful strokes carrying him toward the struggling family. "Hold on," he shouted as he reached them, grabbing the woman's dress with one hand while securing his arm around the smaller child. "I've got you. Don't let go." The older child, a girl with terror in her eyes, clutched her mother's neck. Nathan fought against the current, kicking with all his might toward the shore. His lungs burned, muscles screaming in protest, but inch by inch, he dragged them toward safety. When his boots finally scraped the riverbed, Nathan gathered his remaining strength. He hoisted the woman over his shoulder, grabbed the boy under one arm, and extended his hand to the girl. "Come on, little one, we're almost there." Once on the bank, Nathan laid the woman down. Her face was pale, lips tinged blue. He pressed his ear to her chest and was relieved to hear a faint heartbeat. Quickly, he turned her on her side, allowing water to drain from her lungs. She coughed weakly, but didn't regain consciousness. The children huddled together, shivering violently. The little girl, despite her own fear, stroked her brother's wet hair. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Nathan asked gently. "Emma," she whispered. "And that's Thomas. Is Mama going to die like Papa?" Nathan's heart constricted at the question. "No, little one, your Mama's going to be just fine. I'll make sure of it." He hoped desperately that his words would prove true. With careful movements, Nathan gathered the unconscious woman in his arms. "Can you two be brave and climb up on my horse? I need to take your Mama somewhere safe." The children nodded solemnly. Nathan helped them onto his patient gelding, then mounted behind them, cradling their mother against his chest. As they rode, he felt the woman stir slightly, a good sign. The Bar 7 ranch was still a few hours' ride, but Nathan knew of a line shack just a mile upstream, a simple one-room cabin used by cowboys during roundup. It would have to do until the woman was strong enough to travel. "Hold tight," he told the children as he steered his horse toward the shack. "We'll get your Mama warmed up soon." The line shack was dusty but serviceable. Nathan quickly built a fire in the small stove while the children huddled together on the single cot, watching their mother with worried eyes. "Is she going to wake up?" Thomas asked, his small voice quavering. "She will," Nathan assured him, though concern nagged at him. The woman's breathing was shallow, her skin clammy. "She just needs rest and warmth." He found some old blankets in a trunk and wrapped them around the children before turning his attention to their mother. She needed dry clothes, but all he had was his spare shirt and trousers. Modesty would have to take second place to survival. "Emma, can you help me? Your Mama needs dry clothes. I'm going to step outside while you help her change into this." He handed the girl his clean shirt, large enough to cover the woman like a nightgown. When he returned, the woman was dressed in his shirt, her wet clothes spread before the stove. The children had done their best, though Nathan noticed they'd left her undergarments in place. Those would need to dry too, but he'd address that once she regained consciousness. As the cabin warmed, Nathan prepared a thin broth from supplies he found in the cupboard, just dried beans and beef jerky, but it would provide some nourishment. The children ate hungrily, and Nathan managed to spoon some broth between the woman's lips. Night fell, and still she hadn't fully awakened, though she occasionally stirred and murmured. Nathan made pallets on the floor for himself and the children from spare blankets. "You two get some sleep," he said. "I'll watch over your mama." "What's your name, mister?" Emma asked sleepily. Nathan Parker." "Thank you for saving us, Mr. Parker," she whispered before drifting off to sleep. Nathan sat beside the woman, studying her face in the flickering firelight. Even pale and drawn, she was beautiful, with delicate features and dark lashes that fanned against her cheeks. Her chestnut hair, now drying in waves, spilled across the pillow. Who was she? What was her story? And what would happen to her and these children now throughout the night? Nathan bathed her forehead with cool water, fighting the fever that had taken hold. He whispered reassurances when she thrashed in delirium, calling out for someone named James. Dawn was breaking when her eyes finally fluttered open, eyes the color of summer skies, now clouded with confusion. Where am I?" she rasped, trying to sit up. "Easy now," Nathan said, gently pressing her shoulder back down. "You're safe, your children too, my children." She bolted upright, panic evident in every line of her body. "They're right there," Nathan pointed to where Emma and Thomas slept curled together like puppies. "They're fine, just exhausted." Relief flooded her face, followed quickly by wariness as she registered Nathan's presence and her state of undress. "Who are you? What happened?" She clutched the blanket tighter. "Name's Nathan Parker. I pulled you and your little ones from the Pecos yesterday." "Your wagon capsized, from what I can gather." Understanding dawned in her eyes, followed by grief so profound it made Nathan look away. "James," she whispered. "My husband, the current took him. I tried to reach him, but the wagon overturned." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I'm sorry, madam, truly." Nathan offered a clean handkerchief. She accepted it with trembling fingers. Catherine Faulkner." She wiped her tears, visibly gathering her strength. "And I'm grateful to you, Mr. Parker. You saved my children." "I saved all three of you, Mrs. Faulkner, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat, but you need rest. That fever's not broken entirely." As if his words reminded her body of its condition, Catherine shivered and sank back against the pillow. "The children," she began, "are safe and will still be safe while you recover." "I'll look after them." Catherine's eyes, heavy with exhaustion, searched his face. Whatever she saw there must have reassured her, for she nodded slightly before sleep claimed her again. The next 2 days fell into a pattern. Nathan cared for Catherine, whose fever broke on the second morning, and entertained the children, who grew less shy with each passing hour. From Emma, he learned that the Faulkners had been traveling from Missouri to Marfa, Texas, where James had purchased land sight unseen. Their wagon carried everything they owned. "Papa said we'd have horses and cows and a big garden," Emma explained as she helped Nathan prepare a stew from rabbits he'd trapped. "He was going to build us a real nice house." Nathan's heart ached for these children and their mother. Their dreams had quite literally washed away. On the third morning, Catherine was strong enough to sit at the small table and eat a proper meal. Color had returned to her cheeks, though grief still shadowed her eyes. "Mr. Parker," she began after the children had gone outside to play under Nathan's strict instructions not to approach the river, "I don't know how to thank you properly." "No thanks needed, Mrs. Faulkner. Any decent man would have done the same, perhaps, but it was you who did it." Her eyes met his directly. "Now I must ask what your intentions are regarding us. We've imposed on your hospitality long enough." Nathan considered her question. "Well, madam, I figure you have 3 options. I can take you to the nearest town, that'd be Sanderson, about 40 miles east. Or we can head to my employer's ranch, where you might find work as a cook or housekeeper. Or, she prompted when he hesitated, or I can help you get to Marfa, where your land is. It's a fair distance, close to 150 miles west of here, but if that's still your destination, I'd be willing to escort you." Catherine's eyes widened. "You would do that? Why?" Nathan shifted uncomfortably. "Seems like the right thing to do. I can't just leave a woman and 2 young ones to fend for themselves in this territory." She studied him, seeming to weigh his sincerity. "The land in Marfa. Even if I could get there, I have nothing left. No wagon, no supplies, no money. Did your husband have papers for the land?" Catherine nodded. "In a waterproof document case, it's the only thing I managed to save." She reached for a small leather pouch that hung from a cord around her neck. The deed, some letters, and a small amount of money are all that remains of our plans. Then the land is still yours, Mrs. Faulkner. It might not be easy, but if you're determined, you could still make a life there. A spark of something not quite hope, but perhaps determination flashed in Catherine's eyes. My children have already lost their father. I don't want them to lose their future as well. She straightened her shoulders. If you're truly willing to help us reach Marfa, Mr. Parker, I would be most grateful. Nathan nodded, oddly pleased by her decision. We'll need supplies. I'll ride to the ranch tomorrow, explain the situation to my boss, and get what we need. With luck, we can start for Marfa in 3 days. I have some money, Catherine began, but Nathan waved her off. Save it. You'll need it to start your new life. The gratitude in her eyes made him uncomfortable. He wasn't used to such open appreciation, especially from a woman like Catherine, educated and refined, clearly from a different world than his. True to his word, Nathan rode out the next morning after showing Catherine how to use his rifle if needed. The Bar 7 ranch was a half-day's ride, and his boss, Samuel Jenkins, listened gravely to Nathan's account. You did right, Parker, the older man said. Couldn't leave them to die and can't leave them stranded now. He stroked his gray beard thoughtfully. Take whatever supplies you need. And the bay mare, she's gentle enough for the lady or the children. I'll dock it from your wages over time. Much obliged, sir. Nathan was relieved. Jenkins was fair but not known for charity. How long you figure to be gone? 2 weeks, maybe 3 with the young ones slowing us down. Jenkins nodded. Your job will be waiting. That is, assuming you're coming back and not planning to settle in Marfa yourself. His shrewd eyes studied Nathan's face. I'll be back, Nathan replied, though something inside him hesitated at the words. When Nathan returned to the line shack the following day, leading a pack horse and the bay mare, he found Catherine and the children outside. She had washed their clothes in the river and hung them to dry on bushes. Her hair was neatly braided, and despite her borrowed clothes, still his spare shirt and trousers, comically large on her slender frame, she looked more like herself. Emma spotted him first and ran toward him, waving excitedly. Mr. Parker's back, Mama, and he brought horses. Nathan dismounted, catching the little girl as she launched herself at him. He swung her up onto his shoulders, making her giggle. Thomas approached more cautiously but with equal excitement, reaching up to pat the bay mare's nose. She's for you all, Nathan explained. Her name's Daisy. She's gentle as they come. Catherine approached, shading her eyes against the sun. You've been most generous, Mr. Parker. Nathan, he corrected. If we're going to be traveling together for the next couple weeks, might as well use first names. A small smile touched her lips. Nathan, then. And I'm Catherine, though you already know that. That evening, as the children slept, Nathan spread a map on the table. Here's our route, he explained, tracing a line westward. We'll follow the river a ways, then cut across to the Davis Mountains. From there, it's not far to Marfa. He pointed to their destination. It's growing fast, from what I hear. The Texas and Pacific Railway reached it last year. Catherine leaned over the map, her braid falling forward over her shoulder. Nathan caught the faint scent of wildflowers. She must have bathed in the river that day, finding some natural soap among the plants. What's it like? Marfa, she asked. Never been myself, but they say it's good cattle country. Rolling grasslands, mountains in the distance. Gets cold at night, even in summer being high up as it is. James chose it because of the stories about the fertile land, Catherine said softly. He was tired of farming the worn-out soil in Missouri. Nathan nodded. It's good land if you can handle the isolation and occasional drought. I suppose I'll have to handle whatever comes. There was that determination again, stealing her delicate features. For the children, you won't be alone, at least not right away, Nathan assured her. I'll help you get settled before I head back. Catherine's eyes met his. You've already done more than most would, Nathan. Why? The question caught him off guard. Why indeed? He'd always been one to help folks in need, but this went beyond common decency. There was something about Catherine and her children that pulled at him, made him want to see them safe and secure. I reckon everyone deserves a fair chance, he finally said. Life's already dealt you a hard hand. Least I can do is help you play it best you can. Catherine studied him for a long moment, then reached across the table and briefly touched his hand. Thank you for everything. That simple touch sent an unexpected warmth through Nathan. He cleared his throat and turned his attention back to the map, uncomfortable with the feeling. Catherine was a recent widow with 2 young children. She needed his help, not his misplaced emotions. They set out early the next morning, Catherine riding Daisy with Thomas in front of her, while Emma rode with Nathan. The spring weather was cooperative, with clear skies and moderate temperatures. Nathan set an easy pace, mindful of the children's endurance. Emma chattered constantly, asking questions about everything they saw: the birds, the cacti, the distant mountains. Nathan answered patiently, sharing his knowledge of the land. Catherine was quieter, though she smiled at her daughter's enthusiasm. Occasionally, Nathan caught her looking at him with curiosity, as if trying to figure him out. They made camp that night in a protected hollow. Nathan built a fire and prepared a simple meal of beans, bacon, and biscuits. The children fell asleep quickly, exhausted from the day's journey. "They've taken a shine to you," Catherine observed, sipping coffee as they sat by the fire. Nathan smiled. "They're good kids. You've raised them well." "James was a good father," she said softly. "Strict sometimes, but loving. They'll miss him terribly." "And you?" Nathan asked before he could stop himself. Catherine stared into the fire. "James and I had a comfortable marriage. We were fond of each other." She paused. "It wasn't a grand passion, but it was solid. He was a good provider, a decent man. Yes, I'll miss him." Nathan nodded, understanding what she wasn't saying. Theirs had been a practical union built on respect rather than deep love. Many marriages were like that, especially on the frontier where survival often trumped romance. "What about you?" Catherine asked. "Is there a Mrs. Parker waiting somewhere?" Nathan chuckled. "No, madam, never found the time or the right woman." "A handsome man like you, that's surprising." He felt his face warm at the compliment. "Cowboying doesn't leave much room for courting, always moving, following the herds. Don't you get lonely?" The question was innocent, but it struck deep. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but I've got my horse, the sky above me, and good folks to work with. Could be worse." Catherine nodded thoughtfully. "Yes, I suppose it could always be worse." She gazed at her sleeping children. "At least I still have them." The days that followed fell into a rhythm. They rode from dawn until mid-afternoon, making camp early enough to let the children play and explore under supervision. Nathan taught Thomas to fish in streams they passed, while Emma helped her mother gather edible plants to supplement their meals. Catherine grew stronger each day, both physically and emotionally. The overwhelming grief that had shadowed her eyes began to recede, replaced by a practical focus on the future. She asked Nathan endless questions about ranching and surviving in the Texas wilderness. "I know nothing about cattle," she confessed as they rode side by side, the children napping on their horses. "James was a farmer. We were going to try our hand at raising a few cows, but our experience was with crops." "Cattle aren't complicated," Nathan replied. "They need grass, water, and occasional help staying alive. It's the business side that gets tricky: buying, selling, breeding for the right traits." "Could I learn? A woman alone?" Nathan considered this. It would be hard, but not impossible. "There are women running ranches, usually widows who took over from their husbands, but starting from scratch." He shook his head. "Might be better to focus on something smaller at first. Chickens, maybe some goats, a good vegetable garden, build up slowly." Catherine nodded, absorbing his advice. "I've saved about $200. It's not much." "It's enough to start if you're careful." Nathan thought for a moment. "First priority will be shelter. Depending on what's already on your land, you might need to build something simple to get through until fall." "I can't build a house," Catherine said, alarm evident in her voice. "No, but I can help you put up a basic cabin before I leave." The words came out before Nathan had fully thought them through, but he didn't regret them. The idea of Catherine and the children in a tent or makeshift shelter bothered him deeply. "Nathan, I couldn't ask that of you." "You didn't ask, I offered." He smiled at her surprise. "It won't be fancy, but it'll keep the rain off and the wind out. 4 walls, a roof, a proper door." Gratitude shone in Catherine's eyes. "I don't know what we would have done without you." The sincerity in her voice made something shift in Nathan's chest, a feeling both uncomfortable and pleasant. He was getting too attached to this small family, he realized. The wise thing would be to create some distance, to remember that he would be leaving them once they were settled. But as the days passed and they drew closer to Marfa, Nathan found it increasingly difficult to maintain that emotional distance. He looked forward to Emma's morning chatter, to Thomas's shy request for stories, to the quiet conversations with Catherine by the fire each night. They learned about each other in those evening talks. Catherine shared stories of her childhood in St. Louis, the daughter of a schoolteacher who had ensured she received an education unusual for a woman. Nathan told her about growing up on a small ranch in East Texas, losing his parents to a fever when he was 16, and making his own way since then. "Didn't you have other family?" Catherine asked one night. Nathan shook his head. "An uncle took the land after my parents died, made it clear I wasn't welcome." He poked at the fire. "Worked my way west, ranch to ranch, been with the Bar 7 for 3 years now. Do you ever wish for a place of your own?" The question hung between them. Nathan had indeed dreamed of his own spread, but the practical challenges had always seemed insurmountable. "Sometimes," he admitted. "But good land costs money, and starting a ranch takes even more. A cowboy's wages don't stretch that far." Catherine nodded, understanding. "Dreams often get set aside for practicality. I wanted to be a teacher once." "You still could be," Nathan suggested. "Marfa must need teachers." "Perhaps someday," she said, but her tone suggested she didn't really believe it. On their 10th day of travel, they reached the foothills of the Davis Mountains. The landscape changed dramatically: rocky slopes covered with juniper and oak, streams running clear and cold, vistas that stretched for miles. Catherine and the children marveled at the beauty. "It's like a different world," Catherine breathed as they paused at a high point overlooking a vast valley. "I can see why James wanted to come here." Nathan watched her face as she took in the view, her expression open with wonder. The sun caught in her hair, turning the brown to gold in places. She had changed from the desperate, half-drowned woman he'd pulled from the river. This Catherine stood straighter, her eyes clearer, her spirit resilient. That night they camped in a sheltered grove. The children, exhausted from exploring, fell asleep immediately after dinner. Nathan and Catherine sat by the fire as usual, but something felt different. A tension, not unpleasant but undeniable, hummed between them. "We should reach your land in 2 days," Nathan said, breaking a silence that had stretched too long. Catherine nodded. "Yes." She hesitated, then asked, "Will you stay long enough to see if it's habitable?" "Of course. I'll help you build that cabin like I promised, get you settled proper." Relief softened her features. "And then you'll go back to the Bar 7. It wasn't a question, but Nathan answered anyway. "That's the plan." Catherine looked down at her hands. "The children will miss you terribly." "I'll miss them too," he hesitated. "And their mother," her eyes flew to his, wide with surprise. Nathan hadn't meant to say that, but now that it was out, he wouldn't take it back. "Nathan, it's all right," he interrupted. "I know it's not proper, you're still grieving, and I'm just the cowboy who happened along." Catherine shook her head. "That's not what I was going to say." She took a deep breath. "I was going to say that these past days, traveling with you, have shown me a kind of man I didn't know existed. Patient, gentle with the children, strong without being harsh." Her voice softened. "I'll miss you too, Nathan, more than I should, perhaps." The admission hung between them, neither willing to take it further but both acknowledging that something had grown between them, something unexpected and, for now, impossible to act upon. "We should get some sleep," Nathan finally said. "Long day tomorrow." Catherine nodded and rose gracefully. "Good night, Nathan." "Good night, Catherine." He watched her walk to where the children slept, her slender figure silhouetted against the darkness. Nathan remained by the fire long after she had lain down, troubled by feelings he hadn't experienced before, or at least, not with this intensity. They crossed into Presidio County the next day, the landscape gradually shifting from mountains to rolling grasslands. According to the deed, Catherine's land lay about 15 miles northeast of Marfa proper, close enough to town for necessities, but far enough for privacy. When they finally crested a rise and saw the property for the first time, Nathan held his breath, hoping it would be better than the scrubland many Easterners unwittingly purchased sight unseen. To his relief, it was beautiful, a natural bowl of land nestled against low hills with a clear stream running through it. Stands of oak and cedar provided shelter and building materials. The grass was lush by West Texas standards, perfect for grazing. Oh, Catherine breathed beside him. It's lovely. Papa picked a good place, Emma exclaimed, bouncing excitedly on the saddle in front of Nathan. He sure did, sweetheart, Nathan agreed, genuinely impressed. This is prime land. They rode down into the property, following the stream to a natural clearing. To Nathan's surprise, there was already a structure not much more than a one-room hut, but it had solid stone walls and a roof that appeared mostly intact. A line shack, Nathan explained, dismounting to examine it. Ranchers build them for cowboys to use during roundups or when checking distant herds. This one looks abandoned, but it's on your land now. So we have a house already, Thomas asked hopefully. More of a starting point, Nathan corrected. But yes, it'll shelter you while we build something better. The interior was basic, a dirt floor, a crude hearth, shelves built into the walls, but it was dry and could be made comfortable. Nathan set about clearing out debris and wildlife while Catherine and the children collected fresh grasses to make pallets for sleeping. That evening, as they ate dinner in their new home, Emma looked at Nathan with serious eyes. Are you going to leave us now? Nathan glanced at Catherine before answering. Not just yet, little one. I promised your mama I'd help build you a proper cabin first. And then, the girl's lower lip trembled. Emma, Catherine gently chided, Mr. Parker has his own life to return to. He's already done more for us than we could ever repay. But I don't want him to go, Emma declared, tears welling. He can stay here. There's room. An uncomfortable silence fell. Nathan cleared his throat. Emma, I have a job waiting for me, but I promise I'll come visit when I can. The answer didn't satisfy Emma, but she nodded glumly. Later, after the children were asleep, Catherine joined Nathan outside where he sat smoking a cigarette. I'm sorry about Emma. She's become quite attached to you. No need to apologize. She's a sweet kid. He offered Catherine a seat on the log beside him. She sat, drawing her shawl tighter against the night chill. I meant what I said. We can never repay you for all you've done. I don't want payment, Catherine. He looked at her directly. That's not why I helped. Then why? The question was soft, almost a whisper. Nathan considered this. At first, it was just the right thing to do. Anyone would have pulled you from that river. He paused, but after, I guess I wanted to see it through, make sure you and the little ones had a fighting chance. Is that all? Her eyes reflected the moonlight, searching his face. Nathan took a deep breath. No, that's not all. He stubbed out his cigarette. I care about what happens to you, Catherine, all of you, more than I should, probably. Why shouldn't you care? Her voice had gained strength. You're a recent widow. I'm a saddled tramp with nothing to offer but a strong back and a few cattle skills. It's not appropriate. Catherine was quiet for a long moment. James and I were married for 8 years. He was a good man, and I mourned him truly when the river took him. But in these past weeks, I've come to realize something. She looked down at her hands. What I felt for James was affection, respect, partnership, important things in a marriage. She raised her eyes to Nathan's. But in all those years, I never felt what I've begun to feel these past days with you. This awareness, this connection. Nathan's heart hammered in his chest. Catherine, I'm not asking for anything, Nathan. I know you'll leave, and that's as it should be. I just wanted you to know that whatever you're feeling, you're not alone in it. She stood. Good night. Before she could turn away, Nathan caught her hand. He rose to face her, still holding her fingers lightly in his. What if I didn't leave? The words surprised even him. Or at least not right away, hope flickered in her eyes. What do you mean, I mean? He gathered his thoughts. The Bar 7 will still be there in a few months. Your land needs work, fencing, a proper house, livestock, things a woman and 2 small children can't easily manage alone. Are you offering to stay and help us get established? Her voice was carefully neutral. I'm suggesting that maybe if you're amenable, I could partner with you on the land. He hurried on when she didn't immediately respond. I know ranching, you have the deed. Between my skills and your ownership, we might build something good here. A business partnership, Catherine asked, her expression unreadable. Nathan swallowed hard. To start, and then, well, time would tell what else might grow. Catherine's lips curved in a small smile. Nathan Parker, are you courting me? Trying to, he admitted. Doing a poor job of it, seems like. Her smile widened. On the contrary, you've shown me your character through your actions, which speaks far louder than pretty words. She squeezed his hand. I would welcome your partnership in whatever form it takes. Relief and joy surged through Nathan. Impulsively, he raised her hand to his lips and kissed it gently. I won't let you down, Catherine. I know you won't. Her eyes shone in the moonlight. Now we should get some sleep. We have a cabin to build tomorrow. The following weeks were a blur of activity. Nathan rode into Marfa to purchase supplies with some of Catherine's money, returning with lumber, tools, nails, and basic provisions. The town was indeed growing, as the railroad had brought new settlers and businesses. He also sent a letter to Samuel Jenkins, explaining his decision to stay and help the Faulkners establish their ranch. He promised to return in the fall to settle accounts properly. Building the cabin was hard work, but satisfying. Nathan designed a simple structure with 2 rooms, a main living area with a kitchen, and a separate bedroom for Catherine and Emma. He and Thomas would sleep in the original line shack until a proper addition could be built. Catherine proved to be a willing and capable worker, learning quickly how to help with the construction. The children did their part too, gathering stones for the foundation and helping to mix mud for chinking between the logs. As they worked side by side day after day, the connection between Nathan and Catherine deepened. Their conversations flowed easily, punctuated by shared laughter and comfortable silences. He came to admire her resilience, her intelligence, her fierce devotion to her children. She, in turn, valued his patience, his gentle strength, his unwavering reliability. By early summer, the cabin was habitable, with a proper wooden floor, glass windows ordered from a catalog, and a stone fireplace that would keep them warm through the winter. Nathan built simple furniture, a table, chairs, a bed frame for Catherine, and shelves for their few possessions. They celebrated the completion with a special dinner. Catherine had managed to create a garden from seeds Nathan brought from town, and fresh vegetables supplemented the venison he had hunted. To our new home, Catherine said, raising her cup of water in a toast. The children mimicked her gesture enthusiastically. To new beginnings, Nathan added, his eyes meeting hers across the table. After the children were in bed, they sat on the porch Nathan had added as a finishing touch. The summer night was warm, stars scattered like diamonds across the vast Texas sky. I need to go back to the bar 7 soon, Nathan said, breaking a comfortable silence. Just for a week or so to settle my affairs properly. Catherine nodded, trying to hide her disappointment. Of course, you've stayed far longer than you intended already. I'll come back, he assured her, reaching for her hand. If you still want me to, I do. Her answer was immediate and certain. The children do too, Nathan smiled. Thomas asked me yesterday if he could call me Pa. Catherine's eyes widened. What did you tell him? I said that was a special name that belonged to his real father, but that maybe someday, if things worked out a certain way, we could figure out what he might call me instead. A certain way, Catherine repeated softly. Nathan turned to face her fully. Catherine, I know it's too soon. You're still mourning, James, and we've known each other just a few months, but I want you to know that I've come to care for you and Emma and Thomas more than I ever thought possible. He took a deep breath. I'm not asking for anything now, but I hope that in time, when you're ready, you might consider making this arrangement more permanent. Catherine's eyes glistened in the moonlight. Nathan, when I lost James, I thought my future had drowned with him in that river. Then you pulled us out, not just from the water, but from despair. She squeezed his hand. I don't need more time to know what I feel for you. It may not be conventional to speak of new love so soon after losing a husband, but life on the frontier doesn't always allow for convention. Hope surged in Nathan's chest. What are you saying, Catherine? I'm saying that when you return from the bar 7, I would be honored if you would court me properly with marriage in mind. Nathan's heart soared. He raised her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. Nothing would make me happier. The journey to the bar 7 and back took Nathan just over 2 weeks. Samuel Jenkins, though surprised by his cowhand's decision to leave, was supportive. Never thought I'd see the day Nathan Parker would settle down, the rancher said, counting out Nathan's final wages. But if anyone deserves happiness, it's you. That family's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one, Nathan replied, pocketing the money. It wasn't much, but combined with what he'd saved over the years, it would be enough to buy a small herd to start their ranch. When Nathan returned to the Faulkner homestead, the welcome he received confirmed he had made the right decision. Emma and Thomas ran to him, wrapping their small arms around his legs, and Catherine's smile outshone the Texas sun as she walked toward him. "Welcome home," she said simply. That fall they were married in Marfa's small church, with Emma and Thomas standing proudly beside them. The children had adjusted well to the idea of Nathan as their new father, though they still spoke of James with love and respect. With Nathan's knowledge and Catherine's determination, the ranch began to take shape. They named it the River's Edge, a reminder of where their story began. Nathan used his savings to purchase 20 head of cattle and 2 good horses. Catherine expanded her garden and added chickens, using the eggs both for food and to barter in town. Life wasn't easy. The West Texas climate was unforgiving, with scorching summers and frigid winters. There were struggles with illness, with predators that threatened their livestock, with the isolation of frontier life. But they faced each challenge together, their partnership growing stronger with each obstacle overcome. By the following spring, Catherine discovered she was expecting a child. The news brought both joy and anxiety. Childbirth on the frontier was risky, and the nearest doctor was in Marfa, hours away by wagon. "I've done this twice before," Catherine reminded Nathan when she saw his worry. "And this time I have you." Their son, James Nathan Parker, was born on a crisp October morning in 1877 with the help of a midwife from town. He had Catherine's blue eyes and Nathan's dark hair, and both Emma and Thomas were enchanted with their new brother. "He's perfect," Nathan whispered, holding his son for the first time, overwhelmed by an emotion he couldn't name. Catherine smiled tiredly from the bed. "He is, and so is this life we're building." As the years passed, the River's Edge Ranch prospered. They added onto the cabin until it became a proper house with enough room for their growing family. A second son, Michael, joined them in 1879, and a daughter, Sarah, completed their family in 1882. Emma, now a young woman of 18, began teaching at the Marfa School in 1887, fulfilling the dream her mother had once set aside. Thomas, 16 and the image of his birth father, worked alongside Nathan, learning the ranching business with natural aptitude. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset paint the western sky in gold and crimson, Catherine leaned against Nathan's shoulder. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Giving up the cowboy life for this?" Nathan looked around at what they had built together: the sturdy house, the barn and corrals, the cattle grazing on the hillside. Through the open window, he could hear their children's voices as they finished evening chores. "Not for a single minute," he answered truthfully. "That day by the Pecos River, I thought I was just saving 3 lives." He turned to look at his wife, the lines around her eyes only adding to her beauty in his view. "I didn't realize I was saving my own as well." Catherine smiled, understanding in her eyes, "from drowning in a different way." "Exactly." He wrapped his arm around her, drawing her closer. "Some men spend their whole lives drifting, never finding a place to belong. I found mine when I found you." As the last rays of sunlight faded from the Texas sky, Nathan reflected on the journey that had brought them here. A chance decision to ride near the Pecos that spring day had changed everything. What might have been tragedy had instead become the beginning of a love story that continued to unfold with each passing year. The river that had nearly claimed Catherine and her children had instead delivered them to him and him to them. And for that, Nathan would be eternally grateful.